Hello, YouTubers and Warmachine Tactic fans. This is your buddy Raziel, or Dirty Cajun, depending on where you know me from. And I've been promising this video for months, and now it's time to finally deliver. What I'm going to do here is a beginner's tutorial on how to play the game. Alright, so when you first load up the game, this is your menu. You got Warmachine Tactics, you got single player, multiplayer, skirmish, squad construction. We're gonna go ahead and build a squad today. I think whenever you play a game, you should add your own personal touch and play your army the way you want to play it. So the best way to do that is to build a squad. When you first go to squad construction, this is what your loadouts will look like because you don't have any pre-created. You'll create one, and then you come to this menu that's factions. Alright, see how we got there? We just hit create new loadout, and it brought up all these factions. Mercenaries came in the digital deluxe. Not everyone's going to have them. So we're going to build a squad out of one of the 4 base factions that everyone gets. We're going to start with Signar because they're very basic, very new guy friendly. So we're going to go ahead and click Signar and construct a squad. Alright, so now you're brought to this page, and there's 3 tabs here. You got Warcasters, you got Warjacks, and you got Warriors. This game, much like chess, is all about killing the king. The Warcaster is your king. Alright, you lose the game when your Warcaster dies. You win the game when you kill the enemy Warcaster. Now there's other ways to win the game, but that is always a default win condition. Kill the other guy's caster. Keep your caster alive. Alright, so now you see that I've got basically 6 casters here, but it's not really 6. You got this guy, he looks very similar to this guy, and these 3 dudes look the same, right? Well, that's because they're the same caster. These are skins. Alright? So we have this Commander Coleman Striker, and this is basically him in blue. And you got Fort Falk Combat Dress Striker, and this is basically him in gray. Their stats are exactly the same. Don't get caught up and confused there. I got 3 Sieges, but really they're just different skins. The stats don't change on any of them. Then you have Sturgis. He's the next guy. This is the guy I like playing with, but he's not newbie friendly, so let's start off with Coleman Striker. This guy, out of the box, very user friendly. Okay, let's go over the stats and what he can do. Alright, you got HP right here. This is his health points, and that disappeared by me hovering over it. That's a bug. But it was 17 out of 17. Let's see if we can see 17 out of 17. I'm not going to hover over it. I don't want it to disappear. And that stands for health points. When it's depleted down to 0, he's dead. Finito. Gone. Alright. 17 is a moderate amount of health. It might even be on the low end. Several casters have more health. 18, 20. There's casters with more health. 17's kind of low. But it's okay because he's a caster you can hang with in the back. Alright. Then you have Focus. Focus is his magic. Every turn he's going to get 6 focus to spend to cast various spells, which we're going to show you in a minute, and to empower his Warjacks. Alright, so see, he's got spells at the bottom here, and these will be what you're spending that focus on. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2. Basically, you could cast 3 of these 2 spells, or 2 of these 3 spells, and that would work. Alright, if you give me just a moment, I gotta check on something. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Okay. So, he's got that focus. He can use that to spend on these spells, and it replenishes every turn. It also doubles as armor. In tabletop, every extra point of focus you save adds to your armor, which we'll get into armor in a minute. In tactics, every 2 focus points you have adds to your armor by 1. Alright, so if he had all 6 of his focus at the end of the turn, decided not to spend any of it, it's what we call camping, then he would get 3 armor. 6 focus divided by 2 is 3. So it would add to his armor by 3. Okay? So next we'll go to speed. This is the number of squares that a unit may advance during its movement action. This is a grid-based game. Each square is basically an inch of tabletop. Alright, so I'll show you guys the grid once I get into a game. He can move 6 squares. Alright. This is his MAT. It stands for Melee Accuracy Test. And he's got a 3 here. Alright, that's average to good. RAT stands for Ranged Accuracy Test. And he's got a 2 here. This is how well he shoots guns and ranged weapons. MAT is how well he makes melee attacks. Alright. In tactics, you roll 3 dice, 3d6. And you compare your MAT or RAT versus the enemy's defense, which is down here. Or magic may be the case if you're using magic. Not to be confused with focus. Alright, so what the system has here is a base 10 system. Okay, so whatever your MAT, RAT, magic, or defense is, add 10 to it. Okay, so for MAT, you're just going to pretend this 3 is a 13. And for RAT, you're going to pretend that 2 is a 12. Okay? When you're rolling 3 dice, you're competing with the enemy's defense, which also has the plus 10 to it. And the difference between the two numbers is added to 10 as well. And that's what you need to hit with your 3 dice. Okay? So if my Coleman Striker was attempting to punch an enemy Coleman Striker, he'd have a MAT 3 plus 10. So, or you can just take the 10s out of it for a second. He's trying to punch an enemy striker, which is defense 4. The difference between 3 and 4 is 1. Add 10 from the base 10. Now I need to roll an 11. Okay, because you have to equal or exceed the enemy defense. Right? So, if I'm trying to punch someone that's defense 4 with my MAT 3, I need it's a one difference, so I need to make up that 1, and then we're on a base 10 system, so it's an 11. I need to roll an 11. I have 3 dice 6 to do it with, so you calculate your odds from that. Alright? If I tried to shoot an enemy striker, then I would need a 12 on 3d6. So the odds are worse of me shooting him as opposed to punching him or slashing him with my sword. Okay? Now remember we talked about focus is how you cast spells. Well, offensive spells apply this magic test. This is how accurate you are with spells. So if I'm spending that focus to cast, say, Arcane Bolt, which is an offensive spell, we don't use my RAT or my MAT, we use my magic score. So if you're trying to cast a spell at an enemy striker, then you need a 12, the same thing as you would need to shoot with, but it's a different stat. Okay? Now defense, we just kind of went over this with the offense. This is how hard you are to hit. You know, if someone has an attack of 4, whether it be MAT, RAT, or magic, then they need to roll 10 on 3d6. Alright? If they're higher, say they're MAT 5, then they need to roll a 9 on 3d6. I hope that math's making sense to you. Whatever the difference between the enemy's offense and your defense, you add 10 to it, and that's what you need to roll on 3 dice. Alright, then you have armor. This is damage mitigation. Alright, so once you're hit, you now compare the power of whatever the weapon is versus the armor. So this takes 2 damage away from whatever hits me. Alright, so if an enemy striker hit me with his sword, Quicksilver here, it does 5 damage. Armor's going to subtract 2, so I'm going to take 3 damage. Alright, we're tracking, we're following. Now, the Disruptor Pistol does 3 damage, so I'd only take 1. Alright, so you get your melee weapons, you get your ranged weapons. You get your stats of the weapons. Damage 5, this is what it's going to do. If the guy has 0 armor, it's going to do 5 damage, which is subtracted from his HP that's disappeared up here. Then you're going to have different properties. Magic weapon, we're not really worried about at the moment. And disruption's a rule you're not going to need to focus too much at the moment. So let's not do too much too fast. Next thing that's important is range. Range 10. That's 10 squares of shooting. It can shoot 10 squares away. After that is rate of fire. You can do 1 shot per turn. Some people will have a rate of fire of 2. You're typically not going to see much higher than that. If this number is bigger, that's more shots per turn. Okay, now he's a commander. Not going to need to worry about that too much. Fearless, that's another rule we're going to skip for now. Okay, all casters can heal themselves. And then this guy's got a bunch of spells. Each caster is going to have different spells and different kits, but it's not super important at this moment. So we're going to go ahead and pick our caster. Alright. Now the next thing you're going to notice is that you have so many points to spend. These are Warjack points. Each caster will have a different amount of Warjack points. Striker had 24. Siege only has 20. The number is right here. Sturgis also has 24. So we're going to go ahead and stick with Striker for now. Get 24 extra points. So in addition to my army, I'm going to have 24 points to spend. These are called Warjack points, and they may only be spent on Warjacks. The game's about Warjacks. They shoehorn Warjacks at you. Okay, Warjacks, you'll notice, are kind of expensive. You can spend all your points, if you want, on Warjacks. If you don't buy any Warjacks, though, then you're burning 24 points. You can only spend your points remaining on infantry. You can spend your points remaining on Warjacks or infantry, but you cannot spend any Warjack points on anything other than Warjacks. It's pretty self-explanatory. Alright, so let's look at our Warjacks and see what some of our options are. Alright, so this is the point cost for the Warjacks, and the more expensive something is, typically the better it is. 8 points is your cheaper option, you know, but it's a baller on a budget kind of thing. Take a look at the Ironclad. Okay, now you'll notice this guy's got a lot more health than the Warcaster. Warcasters are like kings on a chessboard. They're meant to kind of hang back, be kept safe. These guys are your tanks. These are your rooks, your knights, the queens, whatever you want to get business done with, these are the guys to do it. They have a lot of HP, and if you notice, try to bring it back up, they have focus, but it's 0 out of 3. They don't generate any focus a turn, but they can have up to 3 focus stored in them. The caster can give them 3 focus to buy extra attacks with, or to make their attacks that they already come with better. So we got that down. Alright. Now he's speed 5, which means he moves 5 squares. He's a little slower than a Warcaster, but that's alright. He's got his melee accuracy test, his range accuracy test. Now he doesn't have any magic because, you know, he's just a big dumb robot. He's controlled by the Warcaster. He's not casting spells, the Warcaster casts spells. You'll notice these guys got low defenses. Warjacks are much easier to hit than little human beings. And he's got much higher armor. You know, he's a big steel golem. He's going to take less damage. Alright, now you'll notice he's also got big boy weapons. Damage 10. Striker had a damage 5 sword and a damage 3 little pistol. This is damage 10. This is Quake Hammer. It's a big boy weapon. And it has qualities like critical knockdown. We'll get into crits later, but, you know, in the event you roll a crit, which is all going to be handled on the dice side, you don't need to really super worry about that, then you get to knock down an opponent. Now, he has 2 hands. Each hand gets to fight. So he's got a hammer in one hand, and then he's got his fist in the other. Alright, and he has different abilities. So we're going to go ahead and take an Ironclad. He's a basic jack. And we're going to take a defender too. Alright, so we got your melee jack, and these are the different skins for it. They're all the same Ironclad, just different skins. And we're going to baller. We're going to do it real baller. We're going to take the extreme Ironclad because it's awesome. Alright, then you got the defender. The extreme Ironclad's the same, it's just a skin. It's a skin they put a little bit more effort into, and it looks amazing. Alright. You got different defenders. We're going to pick a pure gold defender, because, you know, we got to bling out our firepower. We're going to pimp it. Let's see, defender. Alright. He's got a ranged weapon that's got 16 range. That's pretty far. It's like a howitzer. It really reaches. I call it AT&T because it's going to reach out and touch somebody. So we got our gold pimped out defender, and we got our ironclad. That's 2 jacks. We've used up all our jack points and some of our points remaining. We had 50 here. Alright, so the excess points spent after we ran out of warjack points comes out of this, points remaining. We can continue to buy jacks, but we really don't need too many jacks. We only have 6 focus, and if we really wanted to pump these jacks up and load them up, and we put 3 into each jack, we would run out of focus. Alright, so now we're at warriors. These are your basic infantry and support. Let's see. Defender, ironclad, trencher, and again, just like warjacks, these guys are priced out basically by what they can do. The better stuff's gonna be more expensive. But you have utility pieces too. We're gonna take a couple trenchers. You got their stats here: bayonet, military rifle. These guys have above average melee accuracy test. They're really good at what we call assaulting. It's actually a special ability they have where they can both shoot and melee, which is kind of a rare thing. We're going to pick up a couple of these guys. Basic infantry are good to fill out an army with. Alright, and as we go on down, we got a grenadier. The grenadier is a trencher, but he carries some grenades. He's able to fire a couple of extra grenades. We're going to grab one for variety, show you guys a little bit of everything. Alright, next thing down our list is some storm blades. We got a couple points left. We're going to pick up some storm blades. At 5 points, they've got to be good, right? And they are. They really, really are. Notice he's got a mat 3. That's the highest we've seen so far. He's got the same kind of mat that my caster's got. And casters are kind of your superheroes, right? They're going to have better stats than the average guy typically. Alright. So we've got these. These guys are melee. But they can, it's rare, but they can choose to be ranged and fire electricity out of their swords, which is pretty awesome. Alright, so what you'll need to do is you'll need to come through this list and kind of see what you want to do. If you want a lot of range, you're looking for stuff with high numbers. 6 is going to be the minimum range for just about anything. 10 is going to be average, and anything above 10 is going to be exceptional. We're going to take some gun mages. These guys are great utility pieces. I'll show you later. But basically, they are Swiss Army knife pistoliers. They have guns that can fire different kinds of rounds depending on the situation that have different effects based on what you want them to do. Alright, so we're running out of points here. I'm going to pick up Gorman de Wolf. He's a mercenary. Not everyone's going to have access to him, but he's almost an auto-include. He's just that amazing. And I only have 1 point left. It's not enough to buy anything, and I don't like to leave points on the table, so we're going to change something up. We're going to trade back in one of our trenchers. Now we have 4 points, and we'll grab 2 of these cheaper riflemen. Alright, so there we go. In tactics, you have a 16-man limit, so let's count our guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're under our limit. 16 is the absolute max. So if you have some points left over and you have 16 guys, go back and buy some more expensive guys. Alright. See if I can get a game within the next couple seconds, or I may have to break out against the AI for you guys. Give me just a second. Surely someone will play me. A lot of my friends are playing in games. I love doing quick matches. Let's see. Let's do some shameless self-promotion. There I am, top of the ladder boards. Bam. I rank number 1. So, you know my advice is good, right? Yeah, that's what we're going to pretend. give it about 20 seconds to find an opponent, and then I'll set up an AI game. I don't get too much joy out of playing the AI, but it's very useful for instructional purposes. You can try lists and stuff and get familiar with the UI and controls. Once we get into the game, you're going to see whatever map it randomly selects, and I'll show you guys the grid. You press G to reveal the grid, and you'll see all the squares my guys can move on, and I'll show you guys the flags and scenarios, play this game out, and then that'll wrap up this video. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do skirmish versus the AI. And we're going to use the faction we just created. And, you know, let's beat ourselves. We're going to fight the faction we just created. Alright, got my blinged out defender. Got the ironclad. Alright. Alright, so we're pressing G. Here's the grid. Bam! Squares everywhere. Alright. We're going to look at this map, and we're going to talk about terrain and deployment. So when you start the game, you can have your guys kind of pre-deployed, and you move them around by left-clicking them, and then right-clicking where you want to drop them. Drag and drop. You don't have to hold the left-click, you just press it, and then move it around. Alright, I'm going to right-click there. And, you know, this guy's a big 9 base. He can only fit where I have 3x3 open. So I gotta move stuff out of the way if I want to put him in the middle, which I do. Put him right there. This is my caster. You can see he's got these little pips underneath him. This is his focus. It's how you can easily identify him. And when you click on a unit, their card comes up here on the left. Alright. So let's deploy our units as so. Okay, now part of the rules is the caster has a command range that is twice as many squares as he has focus. Right? So my guy's got 6 focus. That means his caster radius is basically 12 squares wide. 1, 2, it's 6, it's 12 on either side of him, so he really has a massive range, right? He can cover almost the whole thing. Almost, but not quite. You'll get a symbol when your warjacks move out of it. When your warjacks move out of your command radius, you can not assign them focus. That's going to be important for what we're discussing in just a second. Alright, so this yellow line is showing you basically my command focus range. If any square of my warjack is in this command focus range, I can allocate focus to him. This is the first phase of the game. Before you do anything else, before you move anything else, you have to allocate your focus. Any focus you don't allocate at this time is going to stick with your caster. Alright, so I'm going to give 1 to each of my jacks, because jacks require focus to do anything other than just walk up or attack things in their range. Alright, jacks are kind of slow. I want to do something special. I want to do what's called making them run, and that requires focus. Anything special with the jack requires focus. Alright, so I've allocated. You can add or remove right here. Plus, minus, or I can click on the jack. Left clicking on the jack will apply a focus. Alright, so now that I've assigned my focus, my warcaster has 4 left, and each of the jacks has 1 focus now. We're going to start here, and I could normally only move to the blue. Alright, that would be the range my warjack can walk. By adding the focus, I can now move to the red. When you run, you can't do anything else. but it's a great maneuver to get you up the battlefield. Sometimes you got to get where you're going, and that's all that matters. So we're going to go ahead and run. Now by right-clicking, I can change the facing of my warjack. Facing is important. You can only shoot things you can see, and you can only see things in your front arc. Okay? And you actually give your enemies additional benefit, additional chance to hit you if they're in your back arc. So you kind of want to always face your enemy. Alright? And your warjack split right down the middle. Alright? He's all units are split right down the middle somewhat. He's 3 bases wide. Right here at the middle base is the extension of what he can see, 180 degrees. Right? Anything that falls behind that is in his back arc, and he can't attack it. And he gives a benefit to it if it if they attack him. Alright, so that guy's run up. Once you're done with a character, you're done with that character. You move on to the next character. You can't go back and do another move with that character unless there's a special rule going on. Alright, so I'm going to run this guy up. In skirmish, it doesn't look like these flags are working, but in multiplayer, you have scenarios, and you try to control these 2 flag points. We're not going to worry about that because it doesn't look like it's working in single player. Alright, so that guy ran up. Infantry do not require focus to do what they do. They just do it because they're BAMFs. Alright, so I can move to the blue line and still be able to perform an action such as attack, or I can move to the red line and then I've moved further, but I've sacrificed my ability to do anything else that turn with that unit. Alright, and I could click on the button and change facing. Alright, one other thing we have here is toggle friendly fire. By default, it's off. You can turn it on. There are some examples where you would want to be able to attack a friendly unit. By turning it on, you see now I can bayonet my own guy or rifle shoot him, and that's not what we want to do. We're going to turn that back off. Over here he's got special abilities, combined ranged attack and smoke bomb. If I move up to the blue line, which I'll do here, I can still perform another action because I didn't run. If I change my mind, I can complete my run, but I'm going to go ahead and throw smoke and show you guys what that's like. Alright, by throwing smoke, I can throw it in this range. It shows you the range I can throw it in, and he'll throw a little smoke grenade. Okay, now he's in the smoke bomb. It says cloud effect, and what that's going to do is give him concealment, which gives him a defensive bonus to ranged. A model of concealment gains +1 defense against ranged and magic attack rolls. Alright, so you can understand why you'd want to pop that cloud, that smoke. Anything that's even partially in that cloud will gain that concealment. So we'll run this jack up, and he will get concealment, because now he walked into that cloud. Alright, gonna run this guy up. Pretty much the first turn, you'll almost never get to attack anybody. That does, you know, there are exceptions to that, but the first turn's typically spent positioning. So I'm just advancing all my guys up. Next turn, they'll go from the positions they're in and make their attacks. Alright, so I've got this caster now, and I'm going to click on spells. One of the things about the game is, if you cast a spell on, say, the first turn, some spells are upkeepable. You get a discount for continuing that spell later. I'm going to cast Arcane Shield on my infantry here, and they're going to get an armor bonus. Arcane Shield, they got a little particle effect, shows magic armor's protecting them. And then I'm going to go ahead and move my hero. If you do perform another action, then you can no longer run. So there's my other action. And I'll go ahead and cast Snipe. Got no one I can really cast it on. I'll cast Blur on my own hero. Yes, you can cast spells on yourself unless they're like a Warjack only spell. So I've now cast Blur on my guy. He now gets a +2 defense against ranged and magic attacks. And he's done with his turn. Move up my other guys. Each caster has one ability they can use once per game, called a feat. Most of the feats are game breaking. Not game breaking as in bad, but game changing, I should say. Uh, your feat, if used properly, can turn the tide of battle if it's going against you, or it can really help you secure a win if it's going for you. Each caster's feat is different, and they each benefit doing this way or that way. They all have a purpose. Alright, so I'm ending my turn. It's now the computer's turn. Hopefully the computer will go quickly and I can show you what I mean. So I paid for this spell, this Arcane Shield. I paid for that. It's an upkeep. And I paid for Blur, and that's an upkeep. And what upkeep means is that the next turn I can maintain those spells for half the focus for one focus. It costs me 2 focus to buy the spells. I can maintain that spell as long as I want, for as long as I'm willing to pay 1 focus for it. Okay, so the enemy AI is moving all its units up. A lot of just running forward the first turn. Striker's feat, we'll take a look at it, is invincibility. Once per game, I can cast invincibility, and all models in my command range get +3 damage mitigation, so basically it's like +3 armor. Okay, so now here's upkeep spells. By spending 1 focus here, it draws from my pool, but these guys will keep their Arcane Shield and I don't have to rebuy it. And by spending 1 here, I can keep Blur on him. I'm going to go ahead and allocate some focus to this Jack here, and some focus to this Jack here. I'm just going to show you guys. Alright, now if I wanted to move this Jack and I moved him out of command radius, you get this little symbol that pops up. It means he would not be able to be allocated focus next turn unless I moved my caster up to put him back in range. Alright, so if I'm outside the caster's range, you get this symbol. That means he will not be in the caster's control range. Alright, now you'll notice here you're seeing a lot of little yellow lines. That's who this guy will have line of sight and or range to. This is who he can shoot if he moves here. Alright, if he moves here, changes slightly. If he moves back here, he can only shoot those guys. Alright, but I don't even need to move him to shoot at the moment because he already is in range of several guys. Alright, if you don't move, and you just go straight to shooting, you get an aim bonus. It's basically +1 to your skill. So instead of Rat 2, I'll be Rat 3. Okay? So let's see, you can cycle through who you can shoot, or you can just click on them and see if you can reach them. So say I wanted to shoot this gun mage. That gun mage has got a defense of 4. I've got a mat of 3. Mat of 4 really, because I'm aiming, or rat rather, Rat 3. I have 63% chance to hit him on 3 dice. Now I gave this Jack 2 focus, remember? Focus can be used to buy additional attacks. And that's for melee. You can just melee all day as long as you got focus. But you cannot exceed rate of fire with focus. So I can't buy more shots. But what I can do is I can make the 1 shot I've got count. Alright. If I choose to spend 1 focus, I can boost the attack, and now you see the odds change from 63% to 91%. This is how much damage I'll do if I hit. If I were to crit, I have a 38% chance to crit. This is the additional crit damage. Alright, now if I boost damage, check this out. This is my base damage. There's some random numbers in there. It's 9 to 11. If I crit, it's 11 to 15. We're going to go ahead and take the shot. Boom. It did crit him. It did 14 damage to him. He's out of there. He's toast. Okay. So if I were to move my caster up, and I were to say feet, I can affect everything in this radius. All this will get +3 to damage mitigation, making everything much harder to kill. That's just Striker's way and how Striker plays. Alright. Well, I hope this has been informative. See, I'll show you guys one more thing. I'll go ahead and cast my feat. It's once per game. Once you cast it, it's gone. Everyone gets invincibility this turn. I'm going to show you combined ranged attack, because it's very useful and important. Alright, this is my trencher. He's got combined ranged attack. Let's move him up and use it. Alright, so I've got my options. I can continue to move to the blue, anywhere in the blue. I can throw smoke or a rifle grenade, or I can do a combined ranged attack. We're going to do a combined ranged attack. And we'll select one of these guys. You know what, let's select Stormblades because they're scary. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and execute. 63% chance, 1 damage, but look at that, he didn't shoot. What combined ranged attack means is him and some of his buddies are all firing their guns at the same time for greater effect. So when you've started a combined range attack, you have to finish the combined range attack before you can do anything else. What you can do is you can add other people to it. So the next guy that's a combined range attack guy, you can put him in any of these white squares and contribute fire to that. So I'll move him here, and I click the combined range attack and execute. Now you got 2. At any time I can go back and finish the execute, which it doesn't look like I can get out of now. That seems to be a bug. I could have added more fire to that. But we're going to go ahead and execute. Up. Nope, maybe it's not bugged. Maybe I can still do it. Okay, see, this guy can now join. And he's going to combine. Can anyone else jump in here? Nobody else can jump in here. Alright, so we're going to execute. Now we have a 98% chance and we're going to do 7 damage. It's a heck of a lot better than 63% for 1 damage. Boom! We did 7 damage. So everything counts in large amounts. Alright, let's see. Alright, let's take a look at, well, you can only really see that guy. Alright, so this guy's moved, and I'm going to show you the difference aiming versus moving does. He's got a 50% chance to hit that grenadier. Alright? Now, if he had stood still, he'd have a different percentage chance. This rifleman actually has a special ability where he can move and aim, so I'm going to show you the difference aim makes. Aim took it from 50% to 74%. It's good to aim. Still missed, but, you know, just like XCOM, you can miss high percentage shots. Alright guys, okay, I guess I could show you charging, if I have anyone that can charge. Alright, well, charging, what charging does, okay, but you see the squares and how you can move, right? Let's see. This guy's got movement 6, he can move 6 squares. Diagonals count as 2 squares. So that's 2, that's 4, that's 6. If I wanted to move that way. Or I can move, you know, side, forward, backwards, or any combination. But every diagonal, it counts as 2. So straight diagonal is 6. You can walk up and punch someone in the head, or you can do what's called charge. And what a charge does is a charge basically adds +3 to your movement, and you get to perform a melee attack with boosted damage. So you have to have someone in range to charge, and they have to be in your front arc to charge. Alright, but if he could charge, he could get out to here, and then attack anyone in this little radius with extra damage. So it's good. That's how you're trying to set up in position. You're trying to get behind the enemy and charge him in the butt. And it basically adds +3 to your movement. You can mouse over these tooltips, and a lot of them are very useful, telling you what's what. Throw some smoke there. And I hope this was informative. I'm going to go ahead and exit out now, and I will continue with making these newbie tutorial videos. Hope this was helpful. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.